Isn't this the life, Blue yeah? Kicking it back, relaxing, and not making videos on the video game series known as Five Nights at Freddy's. I couldn't ask for anything more. I mean, that FNAF video I made a few months ago was kind of fun to put together, but nah. Stuff like that is behind me now. I'm a changed cartoon dog. Granny video. You know, you sound a lot like my comment section right now. When do I not? Good point, good point. Well, who cares about all that? Today is about relaxation and relaxation only. No way. It can't be. It is! Sponsor Parrot! How you doing, buddy? Wait, I don't even have a sponsor on this video. You say no to one deal and they just ghost you, kids. What are you doing here? Wait, that paper you're holding is a contract? Let me see that. I don't remember signing this. What is this even about? Oh yeah, you gotta make only FNAF videos for the month of August. Whoops, I probably should have mentioned I signed that on your behalf. Yeah. You forged my signature? You bitch! I mean, we're technically one being, so it's perfectly legal. Motherfuck! Well, welcome to FNAF Month, I guess. Due to, legal obligations that I apparently agreed to, for the entire month of August, I will only be making FNAF-related content in order to celebrate the series' 10th anniversary. So with your track record this year, that's like, what? One FNAF video in August? This might be the finale of the event already, guys, ooh! I thought we were done with you in the extended intro. You already overstayed your welcome, buddy. Fine. Make sure to subscribe so this idiot has to make a video on Granny or something. I don't know what my gimmick is anymore. I'm out. Do any of these people who live here even pay rent? Why do I let you guys do this to me anyway? I guess we should kick off this month-long event with a classic, good old-fashioned, yeah, FNAF fan game review. Let's talk about FNAF Plus. Kinda. So, as many of you definitely already know, FNAF Plus was cancelled around a year ago now, and as sad as the loss of it has been, I think it was absolutely for the best in the long run. Fiznom, friend of the channel and developer of the project, has definitely been a lot happier since the project's cancellation, which is always good to see. However, for some people, FNAF Plus being cancelled was just too big of a loss. They needed to play this game, no matter what, regardless of how it was done. Even before the cancellation of the game, the amount of time it was taking to come out made some very impatient people very desperate to try the game early. Enter FNAF Plus fan games and recreations. There have been a couple attempts at these over the years, but there is one of these projects that clearly stood above the rest. FNAF Plus Restored. On the surface, this project seemed innocent enough. However, it ended up getting shrouded in controversy and even got a somewhat direct response from Scott Cawthon of all people. So strap in everybody as I take you through the entirety of one of the most disrespectful FNAF projects ever to be made and its eventual downfall. This is a story of weird gameplay choices, AI voice acting, sketchy Telegram downloads, and one hell of a legacy to leave behind. This is FNAF Plus Restored. Before we can talk about the game itself, I think it's important we talk about the man behind the project. The person who spearheaded this recreation isn't actually a normal fan game dev, and is actually a fellow YouTuber, Lost Paw Play. Now, Lost Paw Play is a Russian YouTuber, so trying to look through their channel for shit is very hard for obvious reasons, considering the most of any other language I know is the 2 brain cells of French I retained from school, somehow. Gotta love being Canadian. Lost Paw Play, at least from what I can tell, is essentially just a standard horror gameplay YouTuber, similar to the Doccos and Fusion Z gamers we have over here in English-speaking parts of the world. Although their content definitely has a lot more Friday Night Funkin' stuff than I thought it would, which I guess makes sense considering how much of that stuff is horror-related content, but you know. Lost Paw Play, alongside just being another horror YouTuber, also had a bit of a background in coding experience, and he decided to put that to the test by trying to recreate what existed of FNAF Plus at the time in a single day. This project is eventually what became the FNAF Plus Restored game we're going to talk about in this video, but its development is seriously all over the place between versions. This includes completely different gameplay mechanics from both FNAF 1 and the final version of this game. The wiki mentions a fucking Chica pizza eating mechanic that is nowhere to be seen in the version I played, and I kind of don't even want to look into what that actually means. I think I prefer the mythical pizza eating mechanic staying a mystery for the rest of my life, actually. One last thing I want to mention here before we start talking about the actual final version of this project is the timeline in which this thing was put together. The initial version of this project, way before it became the full-on remake that it ended up becoming, was released on February 20th, 2023. This is literally months before FNAF Plus got cancelled. Sure, this started out as a small, one-day challenge, but it very quickly just turned into an attempt at making a free version of an upcoming paid video game. That alone is already kinda weird and a little disrespectful to some extent, but trust me, ladies and gents and everybody in between, we're only getting started here. It's time we finally talk about the game itself, and all the weird shit that came with it. Here we go. One thing I want to say right off the bat about this game is that it is undeniably a high quality product. Even if it probably isn't 100% what FizzNom's original vision was, there was a serious amount of effort put into this project to make it look and feel like what very little gameplay and screenshots of FNAF Plus we had. Because a good chunk of what I have to say about this game isn't super positive, I thought it would be smart to start off with the best aspect about it. So let's talk about the visuals a little bit. The main menu is seriously really cool to look at and interact with. The little animations of each of the characters on the side of the screen being associated with each of the options on the menu is really sick, and I think it's just a really super well put together part of the game. The actual presentation of the main night gameplay is also really good. Each of the cameras is pretty much one-to-one with the original FNAF Plus, and most of the new renders and camera animations given to the animatronics are great and fit with the tone of the game very well. Aspects from FNAF Plus like the scrolling cameras, new UI layout, bigger office, and much more are also all present here, which is genuinely really neat to see in action finally. The jump scares are also pretty well done. I feel like they're a little too close to the screen almost, but they're genuinely pretty effective, all things considered. They even use that original FNAF Plus screenshot idea of Bonnie standing in the office too, which I think helped make their jump scare in particular super effective. I'm not sure if this was Phil's original vision for how this was going to be used, but it is effective nonetheless. We did sadly lose Foxy's original peeking through the door jump scare here, which is kind of a shame, but it doesn't really matter. One thing about the presentation that is a major letdown, however, is the lack of Easter eggs. I swear this literally has less Easter eggs than the original FNAF 1. It is seriously such a letdown here. There aren't even small things like the flashing hallucinations, which is such an odd omission that almost feels like this final version of the game was actually unfinished, which legit might have been the case, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, this isn't to say there are no Easter eggs present in the game. In fact, I literally got Golden Freddy by accident while getting footage for this video. They show up in the kitchen camera randomly sometimes and just stand there. It's super subtle though, and I didn't even notice it was specifically Golden Freddy until afterwards. And the fact that they just stand up straight for some reason probably added to that. I also don't think they can jump scare you or crash your game, so they're pretty much just a more lame version of the original Easter egg. Cool, I guess. There's also another completely blacked out camera on the map in the game that has a code that you need to enter in order to turn the camera back on. I have no idea, like genuinely no fucking idea how you're supposed to figure out the code for this. It's not like an important date or anything. The code starts with 9. We are so far removed from potential dates, unless Freddy Fazbear's was open during the fucking Stone Age or some shit. Is that even how that works? Does this joke even work? Well, I don't care. Just like how I didn't care enough to figure out the code normally. We're looking it up, bitch. Upon entering the code, you get to see Spring Bonnie with Afton chilling inside it. So that's neat. Gives me an excuse to hue shift a Bonnie render yellow for the thumbnail, so I'll take it. I should also mention that the end of night graphics with the clock are neat, and the power outage sequence is also pretty cool. Freddy looks fucked up AF in the doorway. It's pretty good. Speaking of the doorways, when either Bonnie or Chica get to the windows near your doors, the animation that plays is genuinely really good, and the sound design work along with it really sells the idea that they're an imposing threat. Just in general here, I feel like the way the animatronics are placed in the environments with the lighting and such really makes these animatronic designs work way better than I think most people give them credit for. I've always been a really big fan of Plus Freddy and Bonnie, and I think this game does them justice to an extent. Chica and Foxy, on the other hand, I have always been a little bit more negative on. But I think these game renders, both new and inspired by existing ones from the original FNAF Plus, do a really good job at selling these designs. Foxy specifically looks really good during his phases at Pirate's Cove, which made me appreciate the design a lot more. All things considered, I think this game, visually, does a decent job at portraying what the actual FNAF Plus would have looked like fully in motion. Some things are a little off and don't feel like how FizzNom probably would have actually implemented them, but it's still pretty good. I'd love to move on here. However, we can't talk about the gameplay of this thing just yet. There's still one final thing about the presentation that would be criminal not to bring up, at least in some capacity. It's time we talk about the reason Scott Cawthon has anything to do with this. The phone guy. Now, the actual FNAF Plus literally wasn't even going to have a phone guy, so this addition to the game is a little weird with that piece of knowledge in mind. It's not a bad idea though. Clearly a FNAF game having a phone guy is like maybe the most standard thing you can think of. There is always someone yapping to you in these games. This is nothing new. If this game just had a random phone guy that sounded nothing like Scott, I don't think this would even be that notable. Just a small blip in the game's whole story, if anything. However, That is not the case. Lost Paw Play decided to take an entirely different route. Instead of just having a random person voice the phone calls, they had a random person voice the phone calls and then put a Scott Cawthon AI filter on top of it. Cool! This leads to every phone call in the game sounding like a Skinwalker Scott Cawthon with a very noticeable accent, slowly droning through a bunch of completely new dialogue.
Hello? Hello, hello?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's.
Forgot how bad this is!
Need a job. Although this must be a real treasure for you.
What? He sounds like Fruity.
The control may be dependent on souls is particle. Perhaps their rights exist. Well, keep up the good work. We have 4 more days before the pizzeria closes. Good luck.
I couldn't even tell you the story of this game if I tried. I was actually so out of it when I played this game that pretty much all the dialogue went in one ear, out the other. It very clearly follows the same story beats as the first game, including Phone Guy dying, but the actual story being told is definitely not the same. So yeah. This is the part of the game that got Scott Cawthon involved. He didn't directly strike down the game or anything, although I'm sure he would have if it wasn't being hosted on Telegram. However, Scott did tell Dawko directly to delete his playthroughs of the game, specifically noting the AI voice for being the reason, which is more than fair if you ask me. If I'm Scott Cawthon and hear about a fake version of FNAF Plus being distributed for free with AI voice acting of myself, and it's being hosted on fucking Telegram, I would also probably be a little miffed. Telegram is for like schizos and people leaking Carly Rae Jepsen's new music, not FNAF games. Because the game was being hosted on an insane platform, random people decided to start uploading the game to GameJolt so fans could download it without having to make a Telegram account. This eventually led to people re-uploading the game with fucking viruses in it to try to mess with people who were trying to download it in mass. So yeah, this whole AI phone guy shit led to random people getting fucking viruses on their computer. Cool! With all that aside, as bad as the phone guy is in this game, it's still insanely funny to hear it in the context of the game, and definitely made my experience with it way more enjoyable for all the wrong reasons. Well, I guess all I have to talk about left with the actual game here is the actual gameplay. For the most part, it's pretty much just the exact same as FNAF 1. However, there are enough interesting changes that I still feel like they'll be neat enough to talk about. Some of the choices here are very strange, so I might as well just get into them. When it comes to the office, it pretty much works the exact same way as it does in FNAF 1. You have to scroll further to see the windows than you had to in that game, but other than that, it's essentially identical gameplay-wise. The one thing that is substantially different here is that in order to close the doors, you have to click and drag the levers instead of just clicking a button like in FNAF 1. There's no indication of this other than just intuition, so I was just spam clicking like an idiot for a minute straight trying to close the doors with no success, but I eventually figured out that you have to drag instead of click. But I was very confused at first. Probably a me thing, but it was funny enough to mention. Another change to the gameplay is the length of the nights, which has been reduced significantly. FNAF 1 has absurdly long nights for some reason, and it's probably one of the worst parts about that game. So I'm glad they've been dialed back to a respectable 6 minutes. If you know anything about my FNAF opinions, you would know I think 6 minutes is the gold standard for a FNAF night length. So I was very happy to see this. Cameras work pretty much the exact same way, minus like one thing that I'll talk about later, so why don't we get right into the actual animatronics and how they work. Bonnie and Chica are pretty much the exact same as they are in FNAF 1. Nothing much to say there. I think they leave the doors quicker, which is a nice change, but they're also way more aggressive to make up for the shorter night lengths. It actually flows pretty well with the more fast-paced gameplay style, so I dig it. Freddy and Foxy are the only characters that have been changed really at all, and some of the changes made to them are very questionable, so let's get into it. Let's start with Freddy. In FNAF 1, especially during the normal nights, it is a very smart strategy to try and camera stall Freddy by looking at him over and over again. Since just using the cameras in general helps delay Foxy as well, this strategy killed 2 birds with 1 stone. In this game, you can still try and camera stall Freddy, but it's significantly less effective, and kind of a complete waste of time. They decided to make Freddy way easier to track, and gave him unique laughing sound effects for how far or close he is to the door. This means if you just pay attention to the one sound effect Freddy makes when he's at the door, you can very easily track him the entire game with sound alone, and never have to look at him on cameras a single time. This makes one of the more frustrating characters in the original game a complete joke for the most part, and I only ever died to him when I was just not paying attention. Last up, we have Foxy. Like I mentioned before, Foxy in FNAF 1 can be stalled by simply looking at any of the cameras. You don't have to be specifically looking at the Foxy camera to stall him like many people used to believe. Any camera will do. Well, Either this game didn't get the memo, or thought it would be better if you did have to look at Foxy to stall him. This essentially just makes the game a stock Foxy simulator, so it doesn't drain your power and kill you at 5 AM. I struggled super hard with this game on night 4, and lost countless times because I wasn't focusing on Foxy. The second I switched up my strategy and tried stalling Foxy on Pirate's Cove, I beat the night in like 2 attempts. I was seriously just playing the game wrong the entire time. Whole thing was a very frustrating experience because of that. But once I understood it, I was able to beat the whole game pretty quickly. And that's pretty much it. This game just literally boils down to FNAF 1 with some both good and questionable gameplay changes. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it really doesn't feel like what we all thought FNAF Plus was going to be. But maybe that's just me. The game ends on night 5 when the puppet randomly shows up in the office at 5 AM and proceeds to talk to you through a FNAF World dialogue box. Excuse me? Why are we in FNAF World? What the fuck happened? Brother? FNAF real time. And that's it, that's the end of the game. There's not even a night 6, which is very weird, just a custom night, which does have some pretty cool presentation, I won't lie. Although, because this game doesn't have a golden Freddy jump scare anywhere in it, the infamous 1987 custom night Easter egg, it doesn't work, which is super lame. Now, I wouldn't blame you if you thought this was the end of this section of the video. We talked about the game, now we're gonna talk about the downfall of all this and wrap this shit up. You'd be wrong thinking that though, because I have kept something about this game hidden from you. There is an entirely new gameplay section that FNAF Plus Restored offers that takes place before each and every night in the game. So, without any further delay, let's talk about it. Booting up the game for the first time and starting a new save will throw you right into this section. You're placed in an area of the pizzeria and need to search for anomalies with a device that you can flip up and down. When it's up, you can find these anomalies by hearing distortions in the music that the scanning device emits. Do this a few times, and you can move on to the actual night gameplay proper. You're probably wondering if this gets harder or changes over the course of the 5 different times you have to do this before each night, and the answer to that is no. No, it doesn't. This segment is identical every single time you do it on all 5 nights. Literally nothing changes a single time. You just do the same thing 5 times before the actual gameplay to waste time, I guess? This is the part of the game that actually feels straight up unfinished. Why would you fucking include this? It's actually nothing. That's not even the best part though. You want to know the real kicker? If you die at any time during any of the nights, you don't just start back at 12 AM. No, instead, you have to do the fucking scanner minigame every single time you die. I am not kidding. I'm getting sister location enter night PTSD right now. You took one of the most trial and error formulas in video games ever and did this to it? I can't even process how this would go through your brain. It's actually insane. Thankfully, you can skip these by holding down CD plus like in the original FNAF 1. But the fact I only found that out through pure mental anguish should really say a lot. Handy dandy, sweet like candy. Can I CD plus these? Can I fucking CD plus these? I can! Oh my god!
What? What?
Oh my god. Can I CD plus these? Anyway, I'm gonna stop talking about this before I pop a blood vessel or something. I have other videos to make this month. I can't be dying here. Let's wrap this up. I kept saying there was a whole downfall of this game, and there was, but it really isn't super interesting. After the insane backlash for the AI voices featured in the game, the project was swiftly cancelled and any future updates were also scrapped in the process. Lost Paw released this fucking insane image where if you brightened it up like a Scott Cawthon teaser, you would see part of an apology or some shit. I don't even know how you come up with this, man. And that's pretty much it. There was an attempt to replace the phone guy with an actual voice actor that ended up going nowhere, Lost Paw Play went back to just being a normal YouTuber, and nothing else came of this. I know Phil is long done talking about or playing FNAF shit, but if I could will into existence one final FNAF related piece of media from him, it would genuinely be seeing him play this fucking game. If anybody has some interesting commentary on this, it's definitely him. Anyway, that's all from me today. This should be a fun month of content for the channel, and you should be seeing me again fairly soon, hopefully. Those pre-night sections might end up killing me actually, we'll see. Anyway, I've been uhyeah, and I'll see you all next time.